Now my brother takes care of me. I miss Mom and Dad being around more. Mom says things are going to get better.
This is a brain in urgent need of mental health care. But because 3 out of every 4 Indigenous people experience racism in healthcare, she may not get the help she needs. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Hello everybody, my name is Jason Piercey and this is Out of the Fog. I say this every week, I'm sure. I'm excited about this show because today we're going to speak to a couple of people, 2 from Rainbow Riders, which of course is a therapeutic riding center here in St. John's out on Mount Scio Road. They have for a long time been doing a lot of really cool stuff. That continues. Plus, they got something new that could potentially eliminate the long wait for some mental health help for children and people with disabilities in our communities. All of that when we come back after this. Welcome back to Out of the Fog. I would like to introduce you to, that implies you've not met before. This is Kelly Sandoval. Kelly, hi.
Hi.
You're no stranger to Rogers, whether this audience in particular will recall. But currently, you're the executive director of Rainbow Riders, Therapeutic Riding Center.
Yes.
And we met some years ago, a long time ago, and you had a long stint, a long sort of tenure here at Rogers, and now you're directly and indirectly changing the lives of people every day at Rainbow Riders.
Yeah, it's a great job. It's a very rewarding role. It's probably the most rewarding role. Of course, it was always rewarding to work with you, Jason, and work
listen,
with...
I totally get it. That this is like, I totally get it. You don't need to pump my tires. We're here to pump yours and to tell people about the wonderful things that Rainbow Riders does. So let's just do, for anybody who's watching who doesn't know, let's just say kind of like, this is what we do.
Right. So Rainbow Riders is a very grassroots organization that was started probably 34 years now by a lady named Andrea Gillies, who was a horsewoman who had a lot of friends from the Janeway Rehab. And they brought together a lot of young people who had mostly physical disabilities at that time. And of course, it was very limited because it was outside. It was, it was certainly not rain or shine. It was very much weather dependent. And fast forward 33 years down the road, now we have this beautiful facility that was obviously the community gathered together to help us build. And we're serving over 100 to 115 participants every semester. We basically provide therapeutic riding. So basically it's horseback riding lessons, but geared specifically towards young people and individuals, not just young, but anybody with any kind of disability. So it could be anything from autism spectrum disorder, could be cerebral palsy, mental health issues, social anxiety, pretty much as long as they are referred to us by a primary care provider, we will find a program, we will customize a program for them.
Okay, so that's a large target audience, sort of. And really the only qualifying criteria is your primary care physician in their diagnostic and treatment approach says you would benefit from the services Rainbow Riders supply and give as one of their participants, because you have several different types of programs, I guess.
Yeah, we definitely have multiple programs that sort of meet different needs. So we have a unmounted program called Horse Discovery, which is a great segue into riding for anybody.
Unmounted as in not on the horse.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's basically a horsemanship program that helps young people learn how a horse, how to be safe around a horse, how to feed a horse, the parts of the horse, understanding, and also just creating a bond, like grooming the horse. It's a very bonding experience that has therapeutic benefits beyond belief.
They're absolutely incredible animals, and not just in the sense that they're sort of like very regal and grand and powerful and beautiful, but it has been long known that horses have this way of just adapting to your
energy,
your mood, your sense, and then pulling you out of maybe some of the concern you have. So they match you a little bit, but like take you a little bit further towards. It's this weird way that I don't get it, but it's amazing.
Well, for a lot of our participants, a lot of it is communication. There's a certain communication that happens, and I do feel that horses do help quite a bit with self-awareness. So because horses do match your energy, so if I go in and I'm very nervous and I've never been around horses, you will often find that they are too.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned, because I was not a horse person before coming to Rainbow, I really didn't know one end of a horse from the other.
They're not hard to tell apart.
They're not hard to tell apart, but I really did not have a lot of interaction with horses when I came. That was about 5 years ago. However, what I did notice is over time, because my energy relaxed, being around the horses became very natural, and it was a totally different experience being around horses.
They're so empathetic that if you're anxious, they know you're anxious, and they wonder, what do I have to be anxious about?
That's right, but as a participant, you will see what that looks like, and it mirrors that.
That's so cool.
And it helps with that self-awareness, like being able to basically say, well, what do you think the horse is feeling, and what do you think is going on right now? That creates a lot of self-awareness with the participants.
Oh, so that's a part of the conversation.
Definitely.
So the horse becomes a mirror so that you can interpret your own emotions. Because you mentioned autism spectrum disorder, which of course, I mean, as a diagnosis, a whole bunch of things. But I don't want to say an inability or a deficiency, but there's a communicative issue there with understanding and experiencing and explaining your own emotions. So being able to see it in the horse and say this, well, that, and then that's brilliant.
But also too with communication, because again, a lot of our participants do struggle in some way with communication or socialization. They learn to communicate in other ways sometimes with horses, and of course in a group setting, they can also start to become comfortable around other riders. There's a lot of different dimensions that the program works.
It's so nuanced.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you could even learn self-regulation of your emotions.
Absolutely.
Because like you're seeing how the horse is reacting to you, and then you learn that I have to be this way, and then that can transfer so easily into the rest of your life.
Absolutely, and also you think about it, self-regulation is kind of important when you're on a 1,000-pound animal.
Oh my goodness. And who knows when you're nervous or anxious?
That's right. So you're
Yeah.
not going to have an outburst, maybe, or you'd learn maybe to understand that it's not the place to have an outburst. Or,
No, I mean, I can't
Right.
imagine
That's
riding
right.
down the street on a moose and then the
That's
moose
right.
realizing I'm worried.
But there's that mutual respect also that the participant learns to have for their horse, because they do get to know their horse and also their volunteers and their instructor. And it becomes a very intimate sort of experience for them, but they do have that respect for the animal and also like that bond with the animal. So there's this kind of, I guess, desire to be respectful of the animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the word semester.
Mm-hmm.
So these, are they courses? Are they programs? Like, are there people
Right.
who graduate from whatever that thing was, or the people who are there for like long periods of their life? Like, I guess there's a million different options here.
Yeah, there is. I mean, we have some participants that come for one semester, and that's it. But basically, that's why we do it. It's the semesterization is meant so that other participants can join in at different times.
Yeah, because I guess once you're in the door, if you don't leave,
Yes.
there's no room for anybody else.
Right, so we try very hard to make sure it's accessible. It can be hard because we have experienced quite a bit more demand for the programming, and sometimes we do have a wait list, and we try very hard, and sometimes we'll often offer other programs until such time that we
Okay,
get
so-
an opening.
Demand for the program, that could be based on a couple of different things. One could be people recognizing the value of the services that you provide, but it could also be because of an increased need in our society on account of higher amounts of certain disabilities or concerns. Like you mentioned, people with
Yes.
generalized anxiety disorder, people with autism spectrum disorder, like spectrum. So there's more people with mental health issues in our community lately, especially younger people. So there's more people who need your services.
Definitely. Well, Newfoundland actually has the highest incidence of autism spectrum disorder in Canada, to my knowledge. But also, like, we were seeing a trend prior to COVID, whereby we were getting a lot of referrals for mental health challenges. But fast forward through COVID, it became yeah, it did, and it's unfortunate. It very much an epidemic, and we've really had to offer programs that speak to that
And I
quite a
guess
bit.
to get results from some of these things, I mean, obviously there's a million different variables there, but the nature of the program and who guides the program and the collaboration of it, you guys have learned, can speed up some of the results for somebody who is there for a mental health concern. So
Right.
that's something that you figured out fairly recently with a new program, correct?
We have, of course, like therapeutic riding is wonderful. It is a alternative, progressive type of therapy, but of course we're not actual licensed counselors as horseback riding instructors. Now, our instructors are certified and trained and under CANTRA, which is the Canadian Association of Therapeutic Riding. So each one of our instructors have to go through a very rigorous training that takes quite some time to become an actual certified therapeutic riding instructor. However, we also have just recently launched a newer program that actually does provide licensed counseling from a social worker. Yeah, and it's great. It's also covered because the facilitator is a social worker. It is covered by insurance, which is fantastic because, as you know, the wait times for therapies are just crazy right now.
Yeah, and it's hard to find. It's hard to find a bright spot in a conversation when you're talking about how long a child needs to wait for therapy. But the bright spot here is that at Rainbow Riders, you figured out a way to possibly speed it up a little bit. So, Kelly, thank you very, very much. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about that new program and how your insurance will pay for it. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Out of the Fog. Okay, so when I said goodbye for a little break, we were in transition talking about a new program. We're going to get all into that program, but first, let me introduce you to Charlotte Akerman. I almost said Akerman, and I asked you just as we started, is it Akerman or Akerman? It's like, okay, I'll get it right. Charlotte, thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
This is a really interesting conversation to me, and I hope it will be to the audience, because your perspective on what Rainbow Riders does, why they do it, and the impact that it has on people comes from a bunch of different areas. So I want to touch on a few of those, because you're a social worker by trade and a counselor. And you're the parent of somebody with a disability who has been a participant starting at a young age, right?
Right on,
yeah. And you've been a volunteer on their board of directors at Rainbow Riders. And now this new I'm running out of fingers. This is 5 fingers. And now this new program, I know you're going to be humble about it, but it's yours. Like, you helped to conceive of, create, and execute this program that we're having success with. So that's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. It's definitely an organization I believe in, obviously.
No. I figured it was just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of start at the beginning. It's a very good place to no, the song, no, just me. All right. As a social worker and a counselor, so in your formative years prior to this,
sure.
Talk a little bit about how that experience has led you to understand some of the value that you see here.
100%. So I've been a clinical social worker for 27 years, with most of my career being at the Janeway Children's Health Center. I work primarily with children who have physical disabilities as well as developmental disabilities. So that's kind of my background and the clinical work that I did, providing counseling to individuals with those diagnoses who also experience mental health challenges, whether that be related to anxiety, depression, emotion regulation, those sorts of things. And one of the things I definitely noticed in my practice was that children were waiting a long time to see people. There was a point in my career where families were waiting well over a year to see a counselor. That's a long time to wait.
Well, I can remember as an adult, I waited 2.5+ years to see a psychiatrist.
100%.
And that's as an adult who in theory should be able to manage their lives and have a little more control over you know, how they do something to somebody who's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, and to my knowledge, the wait list is still there. You know, children are still waiting, families are suffering, children are suffering, for sure.
And the data shows there's more people suffering, I believe.
And more people coming forward, more people probably suffered in silence before. It's hard to say if there's actually more. But people are now to the point, I think, where they are looking for support, they're looking for service, they're coming out of the shadows and saying, I need help.
Which is good, and they should be praised for that.
It's very good, absolutely.
Not told to wait 2 years.
100%, yeah. So, you know, when I retired from the Janeway, and I'd already had this experience with Rainbow Riders through my son.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm a parent of a child. So Nathan started riding when he was 3 years old, and he's 22 now. And he rode for for the physical benefits of riding, I'm going to say, initially.
So what is the air quotes?
I feel that the physical benefits were definitely part of it, but there was way more that happened. I signed up for riding for Nathan to help with his core strength, his ability to sit up better, to be able to talk more.
Is it appropriate for us to have a little bit of context on what about Nathan's physicality would require that work?
Absolutely. So Nathan has cerebral palsy.
Okay.
And he uses a power wheelchair for mobility. He cannot sit up on his own. He requires a lot of support physically to stay upright. Put him on a horse and he can ride unassisted for about 45 minutes.
Well, he's been doing it almost 20 years.
He has. So that part of it has worked. The other side is that it helps with his confidence, his self-esteem, his sense of self. He identifies as a rider, and so he should. He was the high point champion a few years ago for Canada.
Oh, okay. So I only know a little bit about what that means because I asked you earlier what high point. But for anybody who doesn't know, this is a big deal. Like to be the Canadian high point champion, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. I call it the Stanley Cup of para dressage. So our riders, a lot of them work very hard to present these videos that are then sent to, I think it's Ontario, they go to be graded or tested against other riders in the country. And we have done extremely well. So,
and just if I could, sorry, Charlotte,
yeah.
give the audience a little bit of context. When she says these videos, that's not just like a clip of somebody jumping a thing on a horse. Like, we're talking, the video is created under the criteria that would be the same sort of perspective that a judge would have at the Olympics when they're auditing something equine. Right. So like it's not like, hey, we took a couple of photos on our potato phone and sent it. Like, this is very well documented.
It is. So it's a test that they do, and the test is the same depending on which level you are riding at across the country. So, you know, little Newfoundland, we started not that long ago, and we've now had 2 high point champion riders, and we have been the high point center for Canada now for 2 years in a row. So that's amazing. So you think about, you know, the physical side of that, but then you also think about what that has done for children in our province, for their confidence, their self-esteem, for them feeling, you know what, I am really good at what I'm doing. You know, I have a son who's 15 who plays hockey, and he gets to play hockey, you know, pretty much as he wants.
Yeah.
Now, because of Rainbow Riders, Nathan gets to ride when.
So he has his hockey.
He has his hockey.
And he has his team.
He sure does.
And he has his dressing room.
100%.
I was in a motor vehicle accident a couple years ago, so I haven't been in my dressing room with my buddies in a long time. And I miss that part.
Yeah.
So I know that, like, Nathan has, he's got his buddies.
He's got his
dressing
buddies.
room.
He got his friends. He got the people that, his people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So having been a counselor with children who have, to a large degree, exactly the sort of disabilities that Rainbow Riders exists to assist with, and then to see it happen as a parent is such a natural transition that this new program and how it's come together, and also to solve the problem of having, in your professional world, of having to see kids wait and to see the parents in tears over it, and like, so let's talk about this new program.
Sure.
And because it's sped up results.
It has. So our new program, it's called Open Trails. So it's an equine-assisted mental health program. I am one of the mental health clinicians that works with the program, and I had to go and do extra training for this. It was a 20-week program through Ottawa to be certified, and then we have a horse handler who works with me. So it's very different from clinical work. So the work I did before was in an office like this, you know, sitting down, and I might work really hard for weeks just to develop that therapeutic alliance with that young person I'm working with.
Because they got to get comfortable. I've been in therapy for years. You got to
Yes,
open
and
up.
it's
There's got to be a trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Or it doesn't work, right? It comes through the change, the work comes through the relationship that you have with that person. So now you bring a horse into the mix, and I don't have to work near as hard.
Because they bond with the horse so fast, right?
Yes, exactly. I
And does
feel.
that open doors for you to be able to get in then?
It sure does. So, you know, just bring yourself to the barn. So you could be outside in the fresh air. Some of the children that I work with very rarely go outside. So we
So
could.
the vitamin D alone.
Oh, just being out in the fresh air. So in the summertime, we do a lot of our work outside. So, you know, we're up on the trails, we're watching the horses. And horses tell us a lot, even though they cannot speak. So we talk a lot about nonverbal communication. And the children and the young people and the adults that I work with get to externalize those emotions. So they get to see all kinds of feelings out there. They get to see happy, excited, calm, sad, scared, lonely.
Which touches so closely on what Kelly and I were discussing just a little while ago, on how now the inability to communicate about your own thoughts or feelings, you can see that. And,
Absolutely.
And that's got to open up so many doors. So no wonder this has sped things up.
It sure has. Like I'm seeing results in children after 2 or 3 sessions, whereas before it
Just
could
like
be
in a typical clinical setting.
It could take 6, 7, 8.
Oh goodness.
You know, so the horse definitely brings a whole other level that I could never bring. So I feel.
Don't take away from yourself though, because the horse needs you for that as much as you need the horse for it.
Right.
So I think that partnership is really, really important. Charlotte, thank you so much. If you're getting results in 6, 7 sessions as opposed to, or in like 2 or 3 sessions as opposed to 6, 7, 8, and we've got a lineup of people, like, I feel like this is like adding a couple more tellers at the bank.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna, right?
That's right.
Thank you very much for coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, go check out Rainbow Riders NL on social media and .com, and we're going to be right back again after this break. Welcome back to Out of the Fog. I hope not only did you enjoy that the same degree that I did, but also that you learned from it. And I think that's probably the most important part, because Rainbow Riders has been around for a long time, but they do a lot of really cool stuff. And one of the other cool things that they did is just not that long ago, a few weeks ago, they had a meet and greet on site inside their indoor track with some of the cast, specifically Rex from Hudson and Rex. You could go and you can meet the dog and you could do this whole thing, and it was really cool. And we went, we have some photos and we have some video, and we'd like to share that with you now. We're big fans of Rainbow Riders. Thank you so much to Kelly. Thank you so much to Charlotte. The stuff you are doing, it blows my mind. I absolutely love it. So thank you all very much. Watch this as we say goodnight, and I'll see you next week.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Provide feedback on this show or find out how you can get involved. Email us at comments@rogerstv.com or visit our website.
It's closing time. And you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive. And the buses have stopped running.